how to get out of my head and make peace with my past. All right. Mark Freeman gives this great example when there's shame involved or guilt involved, and people are like, I want to get rid of this pain of the past. I want to get rid of this shame. And I can only move forward. I can only move forward if I get rid of the shame or the guilt. Now, this is backwards. And a lot of people teach this very wrong. A lot of therapists teach this wrong. A lot of coaches teach this wrong. They're like, no, we have to fix this. And it's exactly like a contamination compulsion from OCD. You're like, oh no, I need to wash my hands first and then I can move forward. But what your brain then does is just give you more fear and more focus on the shame. So what's actually happening here is it's going to be for you. You don't have to worry. You don't have to be perfect the first weeks. We're going to jumpstart you with just taking up more territory. But what's actually happening is a moment-to-moment shift, from the beginning of the day. Because if you start your day with rumination, with trying to shift the past, etc., there's just a snowball effect going on. And that's what's been going on. You were trying to like fix. So what it's actually about is the brain will be like, think of it like you identify with this. You identify with the program that says, no, you feel so guilty and you feel shameful about the past and you cannot move forward. You have to heal your trauma first. Paradoxically, what's actually happening if you do that is that you keep the algorithm of the shame and the guilt and the pain going, okay? So we want to change that. And the powerful way to change that is using your focus, the moment-to-moment shifting. And in the beginning, it's going to be very challenging because the brain's like, no, Margaret, what the fuck are you doing? This is dangerous. Remember, we always have to control spending time inside of our heads on these past things. So we make sure that we're not shameful anymore in this, which creates more of that, of course, if you react to it. So the paradox here is actually, and this is what, if you identify with it, which you don't like because you just like believe it, because you like, no, you believe like I'm shame, I'm guilt. But in what you actually want to do is like, okay, I can have this feeling of shame. The brain is telling me, and this is where we talk out loud, or you can talk out loud in your head, kind of, I don't want to say about the pattern, but like kind of call the pattern out, where it's like, okay, the brain's telling me I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy. The thoughts are saying I'm not worthy. Okay, I can have these thoughts. That's the pattern. I can have this, and it's allowed to be there. A lot of people then, when I tell this, they're like, oh yeah, this is a great technique to get rid of it, right? No, don't try to get rid of it. Don't try to get rid of it, because then you're like, oh yeah, I get relief from it. The brain still knows you don't like it, you hate on it, which is engaging with it. So the moment-to-moment practice is going to be, okay, I can have this feeling of shame. I can have this feeling of guilt. And I'm going to move forward, even though the brain is saying, no, we cannot move forward until we fix this. Big, huge paradox here is that if you over time actually move forward while having the shame, and you cannot believe this right now because you are on the old pattern, but what actually is going to happen is over time, your perspective is completely changing and you dropping this pattern of guilt and about the past. And right now, a lot of times, because the brain is giving you these logical thoughts, why no, it's different from me, and the past was too bad, and I have to do something about it, because the brain knows exactly the algorithm. It knows exactly what patterns you react to, the fear and the thoughts. So it gives you a combination for you to believe, no, I cannot move forward, but this is where you have to trust me. And this is where you have to do the practice of like talking out loud to yourself to be like, oh, the thoughts say that I'm not good enough, I'm not ready yet, I'm not worthy. And the thoughts say all kinds of things, right? you wrote me earlier something that in the school what the thoughts say, and I want you to know that also that is not you, it's a programming that knows what you react to. So you want to say the thoughts can say anything, it doesn't matter, and I'm moving forward. And it's going to feel wrong. I want you to know it's going to feel wrong, very wrong, because the brain doesn't like it. But if you do that step by step, I promise you, you will enjoy it because you build emotional fitness, you will become stronger, you will build mental focus, you drop the old patterns, you will be more outside of your head, and you will enjoy life so much more. So I just gave you like and don't worry, I'm also going to give you a lot of practical tips, examples, but I just wanted to give you a quick overview of what's going on. And I'm going to unmute you in a second where we're like going to work. I just wanted to give you like a quick overview, and we're going to look in a second what you resonate with. But to go a bit deeper on your question, we want to look at how to get out of my head, which is a great question. And I hope you have actually do you have my emotional fitness book? Perfect. There's a technique in there called the no brain method. And we want to start from the beginning of the day. But here's the problem. A lot of people do the no brain method wrong. Even though I actually wrote the trick in the book that the brain will do or that you will do. When you are like, no brain, we're moving forward. No brain, we're walking right now. No brain, we're training right now. No brain, we're doing this right now. The technique is so fucking amazing because in the moment we say no brain, we acknowledge that this is a trick. It's a programming. It's an old program that we use to react to. The second part of no brain is no brain, we focus on the action. The beautiful thing about that is no brain, we focus on, it's in the moment we say we focus on the actions, we shift our focus. Now, a lot of people, though, fuck this up because the brain will not stop giving you those thoughts for a while. Long time, it can be subjective, it might be a few months, etc. And it goes less and less, of course, over time. But then people are like, no, it doesn't work. It doesn't seem like I'm outside of my head. That's a misconception because, and it's hard to explain, of course, these things. And maybe over time, I'm finding even better, what would you call it? Concepts, I guess concepts to describe this. But what I want you and Mariola and Andrea perk up your ears too, because this is really something that a lot of people have the misconception about. A lot of people are like, oh no, there's so many thoughts still attacking me. I must not be outside of my head. That's not true. It's normal that these thoughts are attacking you. The problem is that then people go, no, I'm doing this wrong. I must do something wrong. And then they give up. Instead of being like, no, I'm allowed to have these thoughts. They're kind of like a bit, you might still be aware that they're there, but you don't talk back. You cannot control that these thoughts are coming up. And the problem that people are doing is like, they upset that the thoughts are still coming up and they're coming to me and they're like, no, that's not okay. I didn't sign up for this. I don't want the thoughts to still come up. But then you are still engaging with it and still hating on it. And you're still feeding the algorithm. So the paradox, again, Bashar talks about this so many times, the power of paradox. He talks about this so many times. The paradox is that if you can be like, oh, I allow these thoughts, but I don't talk back. I cannot control that the thoughts come inside of my head, but I don't talk back. And I moment to moment, and in the beginning, it's going to be this effort practice. But amazingly, over time, it gets easier and easier. But moment by moment, I'm going to be like, no brain. Mark Freeman talks about stepping off the battlefield. So they're still fighting there off the battlefield, but we step off and we make the complete priority, the complete measure of success, growing things that we want to grow in our lives, aka valued actions. And the beautiful thing here is that you guys don't have to be perfect. The beautiful thing is that I just want you to start in the beginning of the day and take up more territory and see this as a long time game. Okay, so we want to change the GPS. The way we're going to do that is we have to start in the beginning of the day. And we want you to start celebrating yourself for the valued actions and not celebrating yourself if they're thoughts or not, or emotions or not. So we don't want you to be like, oh, today was a good day because I didn't have shame or guilt, or because then you're still on the emotional addictive engine. Paradoxically, if you actually go on the valued action engine, over time you will be happier. You will be having a better emotional state over time. But to get there, we want to do this where we want to look at you celebrating the GPS engine of the valued actions. We're going to do that with different things. One of the things is I want you to get a whiteboard. If you don't have one yet, a big whiteboard. Because, and here's the big thing, and this is when I noticed, Mark Freeman actually taught me this, and when I noticed this, it was like, yeah, of course. The brain always can trick us. Exactly like you said, you identified with the thoughts. So we have to find a way to remind yourself more because we want to take up more airtime. Abraham Hicks talks about this concept of airtime. Airtime is just pretty easy. It's just like, how many hours a day are you spending time inside of your head? How many hours a day are you spending on the GPS, on that GPS? So it's going to be about you reminding yourself to shift your focus to doing actions that you want to grow, even though you might have anxiety, even though you might have really dirty thoughts, if you want to call them like that, which will actually over time change the pattern. So you actually want to see it, think of it like a badge of honor, like soldiers that are like, see it as a badge of honor to say, you know what? Yes, I want to practice now having this dirty feeling or having the anxiety and do this valued action now anyway. And here's the thing, being proud of yourself, which means talking out loud, reminding yourself to say, no, this is good for me. There's such a great, his name is Dr. Reed Wilson. He's actually a OCD panic attack specialist. And he talks about now, and I'm not saying that this is right or completely correct, but the concept is completely correct, what I'm about to say. He says he doesn't like people taking, like, as an example, medication for anxiety or other things, because he wants the pattern to fully come up to its highest thing, but then actually change the reaction to the pattern by saying, oh no, this is good. Like, usually the pattern comes up and you guys are like, no, this is bad, which is more of the pattern is created. But if you actually like, this comes up and you're like, this is good, is actually an acceptance. This is good, but you don't actually focus on it. You're just like, I can have this feeling, but the focus is on, I'm moving forward on the valued actions that support you. Okay, so far so good. So starting small. Okay, let's go first off about the reminder things and then starting small with the actions. Reminder things are things like get the whiteboard, write on the whiteboard the actions for the day. So you see the GPS system. You can write reminders on the whiteboard, which is so great. Like reminders that you resonate with, like no reactivity, proactivity, for example. Some people like spent no brain, we're doing this. Like some reminders that you, or only valued actions prioritizing. Like some reminders that get you in the direction of prioritizing the valued actions. And you can do that on the whiteboard. You can do that in your notes, as on your phone. Mark Freeman loves the postal notes, like putting postal notes outside of your head on the walls. So those kind of things. And then now, let's go into what would you like to add in the beginning of the day as an action that supports you?